There are Champions League games that feel completely normal until they end. And then something hits you, a weird, uncomfortable thought. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not because your team lost, but because deep down, it didn't feel like football played out the way it should. He's seen this pattern before, especially in modern football at the elite level. Moments where tactical intelligence and game awareness suddenly feel irrelevant, where even players with big game mentality and generational talent seem caught inside something bigger than the game itself. And the more you understand football evolution, the harder it is to ignore. It's like losing a FIFA match where you did everything right and still lost. You can't explain it, but you feel it. And when that same feeling shows up in the biggest stage of football culture, you start to question if what you're watching is really just the game, or something else entirely. Football isn't fair, and deep down, everyone knows it. Not because the rules are broken, but because the game is played by humans, and humans feel pressure. In modern football, especially at the elite level, decisions aren't made in a vacuum. They're made in chaos, noise, and expectation. He's not here to say it's corruption or conspiracy. That's too easy, almost lazy. But there's a reason why certain matches never die. Why people keep going back, rewatching, debating. Because sometimes, even with all the tactical intelligence and game awareness in the world, something shifts, and the game takes a different path. And here's where it gets interesting. It's rarely random. These moments keep happening around the same kind of teams. The giants, the ones with football legacy, with generational talent, with history on their side. Which raises a question that most people avoid. Is it really just coincidence? Or are we missing the bigger picture? He remembers Barcelona versus Chelsea 2009, and it didn't feel like football anymore. It wasn't one decision, it was a chain of them, breaking the logic of the game in real time. In a match that should have been about tactical intelligence and elite-level control, everything slipped. And when Didier Drogba exploded at the end, it felt less like anger, and more like truth. That's the moment you realize something. Game awareness doesn't always save you. Chelsea had structure, big game mentality, everything modern football demands, and still lost control. Like a FIFA match where nothing makes sense anymore. You're playing, but the game feels decided elsewhere. And once that feeling kicks in, there's no going back. Then came Barcelona versus PSG 2017, a historic comeback, or something more uncomfortable. Because in that environment, with that football culture, even generational talent bends under pressure. And maybe that's the real shift, when the game stops being about football and becomes about the bigger picture. He remembers Real Madrid versus Bayern 2017, and how the game slowly slipped away from logic. Offside goals, a red card that changed everything, and suddenly, elite-level football didn't feel so precise anymore. In modern football, where tactical intelligence is everything, moments like this feel off, like the rules are still there. But somehow, they don't weigh the same. That's the danger of the moment. Bayern had the game awareness, the structure, the control, until they didn't. Because when pressure builds at this level, even players with big game mentality get dragged into chaos. And once the balance breaks, football evolution shows its darker side, where momentum decides more than merit. Then came Real Madrid versus Juventus 2018. A penalty, last second, and Gianluigi Buffon sent off in the final moment of his Champions League run. That wasn't just a decision, it felt like a sentence. Because when everything comes down to one whistle, you're not just playing the game. You're facing the bigger picture. Maybe the biggest mistake is thinking this is about robbery, because it's not. At least, not in the way people want it to be. In modern football, at the elite level, the real force isn't corruption. It's pressure. And pressure doesn't need to break rules. It just needs to bend decisions. Think about it. Giant stadiums, massive expectations, players with generational talent. This isn't a normal environment. It's emotional overload. Even with all the tactical intelligence and game awareness in the world, the human mind reacts. And when that happens, football evolution shows something uncomfortable. Neutrality becomes fragile. It's like refereeing a small local match versus a Champions League night. Same rules, same sport, completely different weight. And maybe that's the real privilege of the biggest clubs in football culture. Not just talent, not just legacy, but the ability to create moments so powerful. They shape the bigger picture. So here's the uncomfortable question. Does this only happen to big clubs? Or do we just notice it more? Because in modern football, especially at the elite level, perception is everything. The bigger the stage, the louder the narrative. And suddenly, every decision feels heavier than it should. And maybe that's why certain games never fade. They don't just live in memory, they live in debate. He's seen this beyond professional football too. Any competitive environment, school tournaments, amateur leagues, pressure changes behavior. Game awareness drops, decisions get rushed, and even players with big game mentality feel it. Now imagine that, multiplied by millions watching, inside a stadium built on football culture and legacy. Which brings everything back to one idea. Football isn't just played with the ball. It's played with emotion, expectation, and context. And when you start seeing the game through that lens, through the bigger picture, everything changes. Because maybe the result isn't just about who played better, but who handled the moment better. Maybe there's never going to be a definitive answer. Because in modern football, at the elite level, the line between fairness and influence is thinner than people admit. What these games show isn't just controversy, it's how fragile control really is, even with all the tactical intelligence and game awareness in the world. And maybe that's what makes football culture so addictive. You never fully know what you're watching, but now it's on you. When you look at these moments, do you see human error? Or something shaped by pressure, by environment, by the bigger picture? Because once you start noticing it, you can't unsee it. And suddenly, every big game feels a little different. So, tell me in the comments, what do you think is really happening here? And if you want to keep breaking down football beyond the surface, from generational talent to big game mentality, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this game, it's deeper than it looks.